Did you know that in 2020 alone, over $3.5 billion was spent on lobbying in the United States? Today, we delve into the shocking influence of lobbying in government and uncover how it shapes policies and decisions. Lobbying, in essence, is the practice of influencing lawmakers and government officials to enact or oppose legislation that benefits specific interest groups. While lobbying is a legitimate activity protected by democratic principles, its current scale and impact raise significant concerns about the integrity of the political process. One of the most striking examples of lobbying's influence can be seen in the healthcare industry. In 2020, the pharmaceutical and health products industry spent over $306 million on lobbying efforts in the United States. This massive expenditure ensures that the industry's interests are well represented in policy discussions, often at the expense of public health priorities. For instance, attempts to regulate drug prices or promote affordable healthcare have been met with staunch opposition from well-funded pharmaceutical lobbyists. Another sector where lobbying has a profound impact is the energy industry. Fossil fuel companies, including oil, gas, and coal, collectively spent around $110 million on lobbying in 2020. These efforts have contributed to the delay or weakening of environmental regulations, despite the urgent need to address climate change. The lobbying power of these companies can be seen in policies that continue to favor fossil fuel production and subsidies, hindering the transition to renewable energy sources. The financial industry is no stranger to lobbying either. Following the 2008 financial crisis, financial institutions ramped up their lobbying efforts to influence the regulations being crafted in response to the crisis. In 2020, the financial sector spent approximately $520 million on lobbying. This influence has often resulted in watered-down regulations and loopholes that allow risky financial practices to persist, potentially setting the stage for future economic instability. Lobbying's influence is not limited to economic sectors. It extends to critical issues like gun control. The National Rifle Association, NRA, is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the United States. In 2020, the NRA spent $2.02 million on lobbying, but its influence is amplified through extensive campaign contributions and grassroots mobilization. The result is a political climate where efforts to pass comprehensive gun control legislation face significant resistance, despite widespread public support for measures like universal background checks. The impact of lobbying on government decision-making is further exacerbated by the revolving door phenomenon. This term refers to the movement of individuals between roles as lawmakers or regulators and positions within the industries they once oversaw. This revolving door creates conflicts of interest and ensures that industry perspectives are well represented in government, often at the expense of the public interest. A notable example of this revolving door is seen in the relationship between the financial sector and government agencies. Former regulators often take lucrative jobs in the financial industry after leaving public service, while industry executives are frequently appointed to key regulatory positions. This interchange blurs the lines between public duty and private interest, undermining the credibility of regulatory agencies. The influence of lobbying is not confined to the United States. In the European Union, lobbying efforts are similarly pervasive. For example, in 2020, lobbying spending in Brussels, the heart of EU policymaking, was estimated to be over 1.5 billion euros. Major corporations and industry groups, including technology giants like Google and Facebook, invest heavily in lobbying to shape regulations that affect their operations. The consequences of lobbying are profound. Policies shaped by powerful interest groups often prioritize corporate profits over public welfare. This dynamic can lead to regulatory capture, where regulatory agencies become dominated by the industries they are supposed to oversee. It also fosters a political environment where the voices of ordinary citizens are drowned out by the financial power of lobbyists. Addressing the influence of lobbying requires comprehensive reforms. One approach is to increase transparency by mandating the disclosure of lobbying activities and expenditures. This can help shed light on who is influencing policy decisions and how much money is being spent in the process. Additionally, stricter regulations on the revolving door can help reduce conflicts of interest and ensure that public officials serve the public interest. Campaign finance reform is another crucial aspect. By limiting the amount of money that can be contributed to political campaigns and ensuring public financing options, the influence of wealthy donors and lobbying groups can be curtailed. This can help level the playing field and ensure that elected officials are more accountable to their constituents rather than special interest groups. In conclusion, lobbying wields a significant and often detrimental influence on government policies and decisions. From healthcare and energy to finance and gun control, powerful interest groups shape legislation in ways that prioritize their interests over the public good. Addressing this issue requires a multifaceted approach that includes transparency, regulatory reforms, and campaign finance changes. What is your take on lobbying? Necessary and inevitable, or a stain on our democracy? Leave your comments below.